Your legs feel weaker than they used to. Maybe you notice it when you're climbing stairs or getting out of a low chair. Maybe you've stumbled once or twice in the last few months and caught yourself thinking, this didn't happen before. Walking has always been the gold standard exercise recommendation for people over 60. Doctors say it, fitness magazines repeat it, your friends swear by it. Walk 30 minutes a day and you're doing everything right. But here's what almost nobody tells you. Walking alone after 60 might be keeping you mobile today while quietly stealing the strength you'll need tomorrow. Let me put a number on it. Studies tracking thousands of older adults show that people who only walk lose roughly 8% of their lower body muscle mass per decade after age 60, even when they walk every single day. 8%. That's the difference between standing up from a chair without using your hands at 70 and needing to grab the armrests at 75. It's the gap between walking confidently on uneven ground and shuffling carefully to avoid a fall. The problem isn't that walking is bad. It's that walking doesn't ask your muscles to do the one thing that keeps them strong: push against serious resistance. Here's the second thing that rarely gets mentioned. Balance deteriorates faster than strength in most people over 60, and walking on flat ground does almost nothing to challenge your balance systems. Your inner ear, your proprioception, the tiny stabilizer muscles around your ankles and hips, they all need to be tested regularly or they fade. One major medical center found that adults over 65 who only walked had triple the fall rate over 5 years compared to those who included balance challenging movements. Triple. And falls at this age aren't just inconvenient. They're one of the leading causes of hospitalizations, fractures, loss of independence, and even mortality in older adults. Now here's where it gets interesting. And this is the part that surprised me when I first dug into the research. There are 5 specific exercises, movements you can do at home with minimal equipment, that surgeons and physical therapists now recommend over walking for building the kind of resilient, fall-proof strength you need after 60. Not instead of walking entirely, but as the foundation of your routine with walking as a bonus. These 5 movements target the exact muscle groups and balance pathways that decline fastest with age. They've been validated in clinical settings. They're used in post-surgical rehab, and they're gentle enough to start today even if you haven't exercised in years. But they're also powerful enough to reverse years of decline in a matter of weeks. The second exercise on this list is the one that most people skip because it looks too easy, but it rebuilds ankle strength faster than anything else I've seen. And the first exercise, the one we're building toward, is a single movement that orthopedic surgeons use to predict fall risk and surgical outcomes. Master it, and you've essentially bought yourself a decade of independence. I'm going to walk you through all 5 in order of increasing impact, explain exactly why each one works, show you how to do it safely, and give you the progression so you can keep getting stronger month after month. But before we go there, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment right now with your age and where you're watching from. Just your age and city or country. I want to see how many people over 60 are tuning in today and where you're joining us. It helps me understand who's in this community. All right, let's get into it. Exercise number 5. The sit to stand. You might be thinking standing up from a chair, that's not exercise, that's just life. And you're right, it is life. That's exactly why it matters so much. The ability to stand up from a seated position without using your hands is one of the most reliable predictors of longevity and independence in older adults. Research institutions that track aging populations have found that people over 60 who can't perform 5 sit-to-stands in under 12 seconds have significantly higher rates of disability and mortality over the next decade. It's not just a test. It's a window into how well your entire lower body is functioning. Here's why the sit-to-stand is so powerful. It requires your quadriceps, the big muscles on the front of your thighs, to generate force while your glutes and hamstrings stabilize your hips and your calves and core keep you balanced. All at the same time. Walking uses these muscles too, but in a way that never asks them to lift your full body weight against gravity in one explosive effort. When you stand up from a chair, especially a low one, you're doing a functional squat, and squats are the king of lower body strength exercises. The difference is that the sit-to-stand is safer, more intuitive, and easier to scale for someone who hasn't trained in years. Let me tell you about Margaret. She's 67, a retired schoolteacher from Ohio. When she came to see a colleague of mine last year, her chief complaint was that she couldn't get up from her grandkids' little chairs when she played with them on the floor. She could get down fine, but standing back up required her to crawl to the couch and use it to pull herself upright. It embarrassed her. She thought she was just getting old. But when my colleague tested her sit-to-stand, she could barely do 3 reps from a standard dining chair, and she had to push off with both hands. Her quads had atrophied to the point where they couldn't handle her body weight. The solution wasn't complex. He had her practice sit-to-stands 3 times a week, starting with a higher chair and progressing to lower surfaces. Within 4 weeks, she was doing 10 reps from a standard chair with no hands. Within 8 weeks, she was getting up from the floor unassisted. She texted him a video of herself sitting cross-legged with her grandson and standing up without touching anything. She cried. He told me it was one of the most rewarding cases of the year. Here's how you do it right. Start with a sturdy chair that has no wheels, something like a dining chair or a kitchen chair with a firm seat. Sit all the way back so your spine is supported. Place your feet flat on the floor about hip-width apart, toes pointing straight ahead or slightly out. Now fold your arms across your chest. This is important. Crossing your arms removes the temptation to push off with your hands and forces your legs to do all the work. Lean forward slightly from your hips, not your waist, so your nose comes forward over your toes. Then press through your heels and stand up in one smooth motion. Pause at the top for a second, then slowly lower yourself back down. That slow lowering, the eccentric phase, is where a lot of the strength building happens. Control the descent. Don't just plop down. If you can't stand up without using your hands yet, that's fine. Use your hands for now, but aim to reduce how much you push off each week. You can also start with a higher surface, like a countertop height stool or even your bed if it's high enough. The goal is to find a height where you can do 5 to 10 reps with good form, then gradually lower the chair height over time. Another progression is to slow down the movement. Take 3 seconds to stand, pause, then take 3 seconds to sit. That increases time under tension and builds strength faster. Once you can do 15 reps from a standard chair with no hands, you can add a light weight, like holding a 5-pound dumbbell or a water bottle at your chest. The safety notes matter here. If you have knee pain, make sure your knees don't collapse inward as you stand. Keep them tracking over your toes. If you feel sharp pain, stop and use a higher chair. If you have hip replacements or recent surgery, check with your surgeon. But in most cases, sit-to-stands are cleared within a few weeks post-op because they mimic the movement you need for daily life. Do this exercise 3 times a week, 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps. You'll feel the burn in your thighs. That's good. That's your quads waking up. Now here's the kicker. The sit-to-stand doesn't just build strength. It builds confidence. Every time you stand up without help, you're reinforcing a neural pathway that says, I'm capable, I'm strong. And that psychological shift is just as important as the physical one. But we're just getting started. The next exercise targets a part of your body that most people forget about until it's too late. Exercise number 4. Calf raises. Your calves are the unsung heroes of mobility. They're the muscles on the back of your lower legs, and they do 2 critical jobs. First, they propel you forward when you walk, run, or climb stairs. Every time you push off the ground, your calves fire. Second, they act as your body's peripheral heart. The rhythmic contraction of your calf muscles pumps blood back up from your feet to your heart against gravity. That's why they're sometimes called the second heart. When your calves are weak, both of these functions suffer. You shuffle instead of striding. Your circulation slows. You get swelling in your ankles. You tire easily, and your risk of fall skyrockets because your ability to catch yourself with a quick step is compromised. Data from fall prevention clinics shows that weak calf muscles are present in over 70% of older adults who've had a fall in the past year. 70%. And yet calf training is almost never mentioned in standard exercise advice for seniors. Walking does engage your calves, but only in a limited range of motion and without enough resistance to build real strength. To keep your calves strong, you need to move through their full range, lifting your heels as high as possible and lowering them below the level of your toes if you can. That stretch at the bottom and the contraction at the top are what stimulate muscle growth and maintain tendon health. Let me tell you about Raymond. He's 71, a retired electrician from Texas. He'd been walking 3 miles a day for years, thought he was in great shape, but he started noticing that his feet would drag slightly on the ground, especially when he was tired, and he tripped over a crack in the sidewalk one morning. Didn't fall, but it scared him. When he mentioned it to his doctor, they tested his ankle dorsiflexion and plantar flexion, the ability to point your toes up and down. His range was restricted, and his calf strength was poor. He could barely do 5 single-leg calf raises on each side. His doctor referred him to a physical therapist who put him on a simple calf raise protocol. 3 times a week, 3 sets of 15 reps, holding onto a countertop for balance. Within 6 weeks, Raymond could do 20 reps per set without support, and he noticed his stride had changed. He wasn't shuffling anymore. His feet cleared the ground with confidence. He said it felt like someone had oiled the hinges on his ankles. Here's the technique. Stand facing a wall or a sturdy countertop with your feet hip-width apart, toes pointing forward. Lightly rest your fingertips on the surface for balance, but don't lean on it. Press through the balls of your feet and lift your heels as high as you can, rising up onto your tiptoes. Hold at the top for 1 full second. Really squeeze your calves, then slowly lower your heels back down. If you want to increase the difficulty, lower your heels below the starting level by standing on the edge of a stair or a thick book. That extra stretch at the bottom increases the range of motion and makes the exercise more effective. Control is everything here. Don't bounce. Smooth up, pause, smooth down. If you find this too easy, progress to single-leg calf raises. Same setup, but lift 1 foot off the ground and perform all your reps on 1 leg before switching. This not only increases the resistance because you're lifting your full body weight on 1 calf, but it also challenges your balance, which brings additional benefits. If single leg is too hard, stick with both legs and add reps or slow down the tempo. Take 2 seconds to rise, hold for 2, take 2 seconds to lower. Another option is to hold a light dumbbell in one hand while using the other hand for balance. Safety tips. If you have Achilles tendon issues or a history of calf strains, start gently and avoid the deep stretch at the bottom until your tendons adapt. If you feel a sharp pain in your Achilles, stop and consult a professional. If you have balance problems, use a stable surface and consider doing these seated at first to build strength before progressing to standing. Aim for 3 sets of 12 to 15 reps, 3 times per week. You'll feel a good burn in your calves and a pleasant stretch in your Achilles. That's normal. Over time, you'll notice your walking feels lighter, your balance improves, and that heavy, swollen feeling in your ankles decreases. Calf raises also help prevent one of the most common but overlooked injuries in older adults, Achilles tendon ruptures. When your calves are weak, the tendon takes more strain than it should, and over time it can degenerate. Keeping your calves strong keeps your tendons healthy. But strong calves alone won't save you if the next piece of the puzzle is missing. And that's where exercise number 3 comes in. Exercise number 3, the step-up. If the sit-to-stand teaches your body to move vertically and the calf raise teaches your ankles to propel you forward, the step-up ties it all together in a movement that mimics real life. Climbing stairs, getting onto a curb, stepping into a car. Every one of these tasks requires your lead leg to support your entire body weight while lifting you upward. That's a step-up, and it's one of the most functional exercises you can do after 60 because it doesn't just build strength. It builds unilateral strength, meaning each leg has to work independently. That's critical because in real life, most movements, walking, climbing, recovering from a stumble, require one leg to do more work than the other at any given moment. Research from orthopedic rehabilitation programs shows that people who train unilateral leg exercises like step-ups have significantly better balance. and lower fall rates than those who only do bilateral exercises like squats or leg presses. The reason is simple. When you train both legs at once, your stronger leg compensates for your weaker leg, and the imbalance persists. When you train one leg at a time, you expose and correct those imbalances. Step-ups also challenge your hip stabilizers, the gluteus medius and minimus, which are the muscles on the sides of your hips that keep your pelvis level when you stand on one leg. Weak hip stabilizers are a major cause of that side-to-side wobble you see in some older adults when they walk. Strengthen them and your gait becomes smooth and stable. Let me tell you about Linda. She's 64, a retired nurse from Florida. She lived in a 2-story house and had started avoiding the stairs because her knees hurt and she felt unsteady. She'd hold the railing with both hands and take one step at a time, both feet on each step before moving to the next. It took forever and made her feel old. Her daughter convinced her to see a physical therapist, and the therapist identified 2 problems. First, Linda's quadriceps were weak, so her knees were absorbing too much stress. Second, her hip stabilizers were essentially asleep, so her pelvis tilted with every step, throwing off her balance. The solution was a step-up progression. They started with a low step, just 4 inches, and had her practice stepping up and down with a focus on keeping her hips level and her knee tracking over her toes. She did 3 sets of 8 reps per leg, 3 times a week. Within 3 weeks, she moved to a 6-inch step. Within 6 weeks, she was using an 8-inch step with no pain. By week 10, she was walking up and down her stairs at home with a normal, alternating gait. No railing, no hesitation. She told her therapist it felt like she'd gotten her house back. Here's how to perform a step-up correctly. You need a stable platform, a sturdy wooden box, a stone step, or even the bottom step of a staircase if it's not too high. Start with a height that brings your knee to about 90 degrees when your foot is on top. For most people, that's 6 to 8 inches. Stand facing the step with your feet hip-width apart. Place your right foot fully on the step, heel and toes both down, not just the ball of your foot. Now, and this is key, press through your right heel and lift your body up until your right leg is straight. Your left foot will come off the ground, but don't push off with it. Let your right leg do all the work. Pause at the top with both feet together or just your right foot planted, then slowly lower your left foot back to the floor. That's 1 rep. Do all your reps on the right leg, then switch to the left. The most common mistake is pushing off with the bottom foot. That defeats the purpose. The goal is to make the top leg lift you. If you can't do that yet, start with a lower step. You can also hold on to a railing or countertop with one hand for balance at first, but try to reduce that support over time. Another mistake is letting your knee collapse inward. Keep your knee aligned over your second toe throughout the movement. If your knee dives inward, it means your hip stabilizers are weak. Lower the step height and focus on control. Progressions are straightforward. Once you can do 3 sets of 12 reps per leg on a 6-inch step, move to an 8-inch step, then 10 inches. Eventually, you can use a standard stair step, which is usually around 7 to 8 inches, and add weight by holding light dumbbells at your sides or a weight plate at your chest. You can also slow down the tempo. Take 2 seconds to step up, pause for 2 at the top, take 2 seconds to step down. This increases time under tension and builds more strength. Safety considerations. If you have knee pain, make sure the step height isn't too high. The higher the step, the more stress on your knee. If you have hip replacements, check with your surgeon, but step-ups are generally encouraged in rehab because they're so functional. If you feel unstable, use a hand on a wall or railing until your balance improves. Avoid this exercise if you have acute knee swelling or sharp pain. Aim for 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps per leg, 2 to 3 times per week. Step-ups also have a cardiovascular benefit that walking often lacks. Because you're moving your body vertically against gravity, your heart rate climbs quickly. A few sets of step-ups can give you the aerobic stimulus of a brisk walk in a fraction of the time, and the strength you build translates immediately to daily life. Stairs become easier. Getting in and out of cars becomes smoother. You feel more capable. But as good as step-ups are, they're still a sagittal plane movement, meaning they move you forward and back. Your body also needs to be strong and stable in the frontal plane side to side, and that's where exercise number 2 comes in. Exercise number 2. The lateral leg raise. Most people over 60 never train sideways movement. Think about it. Walking is forward. Sit-to-stands are up and down. Step-ups are forward and up. Calf raises are vertical. Almost all daily activities and almost all exercise recommendations are in the sagittal plane. But your body moves in 3 dimensions, and the most neglected dimension is lateral, side to side. That neglect shows up in 2 ways. First, weak hip abductors, the muscles that move your leg away from your body, which leads to that pelvis drop and wobble when you walk. Second, poor lateral stability, which means if you step sideways or get pushed from the side, you're far more likely to fall. Studies on fall mechanics show that lateral falls to the side, are the most dangerous because they're more likely to result in hip fractures than forward or backward falls. And hip fractures in older adults are catastrophic. Nearly 20% of people over 65 who fracture a hip die within a year, and many more never regain full mobility. Preventing lateral falls isn't about walking more or even about doing more forward-focused strength work. It's about training your body to stabilize and generate force in sideways movements. That's exactly what the lateral leg raise does. The lateral leg raise targets your gluteus medius and minimus, the muscles on the outer part of your hips. These muscles stabilize your pelvis when you stand on one leg, and they move your leg out to the side. If they're weak, your pelvis tips every time you take a step, your knees collapse inward, and your balance suffers. Strengthening them smooths out your gait, takes stress off your knees and lower back, and dramatically improves your ability to recover if you trip or step onto an uneven surface. These muscles also fatigue quickly if they're not trained, which is why people often feel their hips getting tired before their legs when they walk long distances. Let me tell you about Robert. He's 69, a retired engineer from Oregon. He'd been doing sit-to-stands and calf raises for a few months and felt stronger, but he noticed that whenever he walked on trails with uneven ground, his hips would ache and he'd feel unsteady. His physical therapist watched him walk and saw his pelvis dropping with every step, a classic sign of weak hip abductors. She added lateral leg raises to his routine, and within 4 weeks Robert noticed his hips felt more stable. After 8 weeks, the aching was gone and he was hiking longer trails with confidence. He said it felt like someone had tightened the bolts on his hips. Here's how to do the lateral leg raise. Stand next to a wall or a sturdy countertop with your right hand resting lightly on it for balance. Your feet should be together. Weight evenly distributed. Now shift your weight onto your left leg and lift your right leg out to the side, keeping your knee straight and your toes pointing forward. Don't lean your torso to the left. Stay upright. Lift your leg as high as you comfortably can, usually about 12 to 18 inches off the ground. Hold for 1 second, then slowly lower it back down. That's 1 rep. Do all your reps on the right leg, then turn around and do the left leg. The key is control and alignment. Don't swing your leg. Don't rotate your hips so your toes point up. Keep your toes forward and your hips level. If you can't lift your leg very high at first, that's normal. Even a few inches of movement is beneficial. The range will increase as your hip abductors get stronger. Also, don't lean away from the leg you're lifting. That's cheating. Engage your core to stay upright. Progressions are simple. Start with body weight, 3 sets of 12 to 15 reps per leg. Once that's easy, add an ankle weight. Start with 1 or 2 pounds and gradually increase. You can also do this exercise lying on your side if standing is too difficult. Lie on your left side, legs straight, and lift your right leg toward the ceiling. Same rules apply. Keep your toes forward, don't roll your hips back, control the movement. The lying version is easier and a good starting point if you're very weak or have balance issues. Safety notes. If you have hip bursitis or pain on the outside of your hip, start gently. The movement might irritate the area at first, but it will often improve as the muscles get stronger and take stress off the bursa. If the pain worsens, stop and see a professional. If you've had hip surgery, check with your surgeon, but lateral leg raises are usually part of post-op rehab because they restore hip stability, Avoid arching your lower back as you lift your leg. Keep your core engaged. Aim for 3 sets of 12 to 15 reps per leg, 2 to 3 times per week. Lateral leg raises also improve something subtle but incredibly important. They teach your brain to recruit those hip stabilizers automatically. Over time, your nervous system learns to fire those muscles preemptively whenever you shift your weight, which means better balance and quicker reactions if you start to fall. That neural training is just as valuable as the strength gains. But even with strong hips, strong calves, strong quads, and good lateral stability, there's one more piece that ties everything together. And it's the most overlooked, most underrated, and most powerful exercise for preventing falls. That's number 1. Exercise number 1. The single leg stance. Standing on one leg sounds simple. It sounds too easy to be the top exercise for fall prevention. But here's the reality. The single leg stance is the gold standard test that orthopedic surgeons, physical therapists, and geriatricians use to assess fall risk and overall functional capacity in older adults. If you can't hold a single leg stance for at least 10 seconds with your eyes open, your fall risk is elevated. If you can hold it for 30 seconds, your balance systems are functioning well. And if you can do it with your eyes closed, even for a few seconds, you've achieved a level of proprioceptive control that most people lose by their 60s. Here's why the single leg stance is so powerful. It integrates everything: your ankle stabilizers, calf strength, hip abductors, quadriceps, core, and most importantly, your vestibular system and proprioception. Proprioception is your body's ability to sense where it is in space without looking. It's the reason you can walk in the dark without falling over. As you age, proprioception declines, and that decline is one of the biggest contributors to falls. The single leg stance forces your proprioceptive system to recalibrate. Every second you spend balancing on one leg is sending feedback to your brain about how to make micro-adjustments in your muscles to keep you upright. That feedback loop strengthens over time, making you more stable in all situations. Large studies following older adults over several years have found that those who practice single-leg balance exercises have fall rates that are 30 to 50% lower than those who don't, 30 to 50%. That's enormous. And the exercise costs nothing, requires no equipment, and can be done anywhere. But despite its simplicity, most people don't do it because they don't realize how important it is, or because they find it too hard at first and give up. The trick is to start where you are and progress gradually. Let me tell you about Helen. She's 73, a retired librarian from Massachusetts. She fell twice in 1 year, once in her kitchen and once getting out of her car. Neither fall caused serious injury, but both terrified her. She became afraid to go out alone. Her daughter took her to a physical therapist who did a balance assessment. Helen couldn't hold a single leg stance for more than 3 seconds on either leg. The therapist explained that her balance systems had degraded to the point where any small perturbation, a wet floor, an uneven curb, was enough to topple her. They started a simple protocol. Helen practiced single leg stance every day while brushing her teeth. She'd stand on one leg for as long as she could, holding the bathroom counter lightly for support, then switch legs. The first week she averaged 5 seconds per leg. By week 4, she was up to 15 seconds with light finger support. By week 8, she could stand for 30 seconds with no support. By week 12, she was doing it with her eyes closed for short bursts. Her confidence transformed. She started walking to the store again. She took a trip to visit her sister. She told her therapist that the single-leg stance gave her back her freedom. Here's how to practice the single-leg stance safely and effectively. Stand next to a sturdy countertop or wall with your feet together. Lightly rest your fingertips on the surface for balance, but don't lean on it. Shift your weight onto your left leg and lift your right foot a few inches off the ground. You can bend your right knee and bring your foot behind you, or lift your knee in front of you, whichever feels more stable. Now try to hold that position. Keep your standing leg slightly bent, not locked. Engage your core. Look straight ahead at a fixed point. Hold for as long as you can, up to 30 seconds. Then switch legs. At first you'll probably wobble a lot and need to touch the counter frequently. That's fine. The wobbling is part of the training. Your body is learning. Each time you practice, you'll wobble a little less. If you can't hold the position for even a second without support, start by just shifting your weight onto one leg while keeping the other foot lightly touching the ground. Build up from there. If you can hold it for 30 seconds with finger support, try letting go for a few seconds at a time. If you can hold it for 30 seconds with no support, try closing your eyes for 5 seconds. That ramps up the difficulty significantly because you lose visual feedback and rely entirely on proprioception. Progressions can also include changing the surface. Once you're solid on a hard floor, try standing on a folded towel or a foam pad. The unstable surface challenges your balance systems even more. Another progression is to add small movements. While balancing on one leg, slowly move your arms in different directions or turn your head side to side. This mimics real-world balance challenges where you have to maintain stability while doing something else. Safety is paramount here. Always practice near something you can grab if you lose your balance. Never practice near stairs or sharp corners. If you have severe osteoporosis or a high fall risk, practice sitting down first. You can do a seated version where you lift one foot off the ground while sitting in a chair to start building the neural pathways. Consult a professional if you're very unstable. Aim to practice the single leg stance every day, even if just for a minute or two per leg. Consistency matters more than duration. The single leg stance also reveals imbalances between your legs. Most people find one leg significantly weaker or less stable than the other. That asymmetry is a red flag. It means one leg is compensating for the other, and that compensation can lead to overuse injuries and increased fall risk. By training both legs equally, you correct that imbalance over time. You'll also notice improvements in other activities. Walking becomes more fluid. Climbing stairs feels easier. You can reach for something on a high shelf without feeling like you might tip over. Those are the real-world payoffs. But here's what really makes the single-leg stance special. It's a daily reminder of your progress. Every few weeks, you'll notice you can hold it longer, wobble less, or even close your eyes for a moment. That tangible improvement is motivating. It proves to you that your body is still capable of getting stronger and more resilient, even after 60. And that mindset shift, the belief that you can improve, is just as important as the physical gains. So let's recap the 5 exercises, and then I'll give you a simple weekly plan to put them all together. Exercise number 5, the sit to stand, builds the leg strength you need to stand up, climb stairs, and maintain independence. Exercise number 4, the calf raise, strengthens your calves for propulsion, circulation, and preventing Achilles injuries. Exercise number 3, the step up, trains unilateral leg strength and hip stability for real-world movements like stairs and curbs. Exercise number 2, the lateral leg raise, strengthens your hip abductors for lateral stability and prevents side falls. And exercise number 1, the single leg stance, integrates all your balance systems and dramatically reduces fall risk. Now, how do you fit these into your week? Here's a sample routine that takes about 20 minutes per session. You'll do these 3 times per week, let's say Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Warm up with 5 minutes of gentle movement, marching in place, arm circles, hip circles, anything to get your blood flowing. Then do 3 sets of each exercise in order. Sit to stands, 8 to 12 reps. Calf raises, 12 to 15 reps. Step-ups, 8 to 12 reps per leg. Lateral leg raises, 12 to 15 reps per leg. Single leg stance, 30 seconds per leg, or as long as you can hold it. Rest about 1 minute between sets. Cool down with 5 minutes of stretching, focusing on your quads, hamstrings, calves, and hip flexors. That's it. 3 times per week, 20 minutes per session, and you'll build more functional strength and balance than months of walking alone could ever provide. And you can still walk. Walking is great for cardiovascular health, mental health, and staying active. But think of walking as your bonus movement, not your foundation. The foundation is these 5 exercises. They're the movements that will keep you strong, stable, and independent as you age. They're the movements that surgeons and therapists use in rehab because they work. And they're the movements that, when done consistently, can reverse years of decline and give you back capabilities you thought were gone forever. One more thing. You might feel sore after the first few sessions. That's normal. It's called delayed onset muscle soreness, and it means your muscles are adapting. It usually peaks about 48 hours after exercise and fades within a few days. If the soreness is severe or lasts more than a few days, you might have done too much too soon. Back off a bit and progress more gradually. Also, if you experience sharp pain, not soreness but pain, stop that exercise and consult a professional. Pain is your body's warning system. Soreness is just your muscles saying, "We're getting stronger." You'll start to notice changes within 2 to 4 weeks. Your balance will feel steadier. Stairs will get easier. You'll stand up from chairs with more confidence. By 8 weeks, you'll see measurable gains in strength and range of motion. By 12 weeks, you'll wonder why you didn't start sooner. And the beautiful part is, these gains continue. You don't plateau as long as you keep progressing the difficulty. Add more reps, add weight, add unstable surfaces, slow down the tempo. Your body will keep adapting. I also want to address a concern some people have. What if I've never exercised before? What if I'm starting from a very weak baseline? That's actually the best case scenario because you have the most room for improvement. You'll see dramatic results faster than someone who's already relatively strong. Just start conservatively. Use higher chairs for sit-to-stands. Do calf raises seated at first. Use a very low step for step-ups. Hold on to support for lateral leg raises and single leg stance. Meet yourself where you are, not where you think you should be. Progress will come. Another common question. Can I do these every day instead of 3 times per week? You can do the single leg stance daily because it's more of a balance and neural exercise than a strength exercise. But the others, the sit-to-stands, calf raises, step-ups, and lateral leg raises, need rest days to allow your muscles to recover and grow. 3 times per week with at least 1 day of rest in between is ideal. On your off days, you can walk, do gentle stretching, or practice the single leg stance. Listen to your body. What about equipment? Do you need to buy anything? Not really. A sturdy chair, a step or stair, a countertop or wall for balance, that's all you need to start. As you get stronger, you might want to invest in a set of light dumbbells, maybe 5 to 15 pounds and an ankle weight or 2. But you can make progress for months with just your body weight. Don't let a lack of equipment be an excuse. One more practical tip. Pair these exercises with an existing habit. Do your single leg stance while brushing your teeth every morning. Do sit-to-stands every time you finish a meal. Do calf raises while waiting for your coffee to brew. That habit stacking approach makes it easier to stay consistent because the exercise becomes part of your routine rather than an extra task you have to remember. And let's talk about the mindset shift that comes with this. Aging in our culture is often framed as a decline, a slow march toward frailty and dependence. You're told to take it easy, to be careful, to accept limitations. But the truth is that much of what we call aging is actually disuse. Your muscles didn't get weak because you turned 60. They got weak because you stopped challenging them. Your balance didn't deteriorate because of some inevitable biological countdown. It deteriorated because modern life stopped requiring you to balance. You walk on flat, even surfaces. You sit in supportive chairs. You grab railings. You never ask your body to do hard things anymore. And your body, being efficient, adapts by getting rid of what it doesn't use. But here's the empowering part. That process is reversible. When you start asking your body to do hard things again, when you challenge your muscles and your balance systems with progressive resistance, your body responds. It rebuilds. It adapts upward instead of downward. You're not fighting aging. You're reclaiming capacity that was always available but dormant. That distinction matters because it shifts you from a victim mindset to an empowered one. You're not broken. You're undertrained. And training is something you can control. I've seen this transformation hundreds of times. People in their 60s, 70s, even 80s, who thought their best years were behind them, who accepted weakness and instability as their new normal, suddenly discovering that they can get stronger, that they can move with confidence again, that they can do things they haven't done in decades. And it changes everything. Not just their physical capacity, but their entire outlook on life. They stop shrinking. They start expanding. They take trips they'd been putting off. They play with their grandchildren without fear. They feel young again, not because they're denying reality, but because they've redefined what's possible. This is why these 5 exercises matter so much. They're not just movements. They're acts of defiance against the cultural narrative that says older means weaker. They're proof that you still have agency over your body, and they're the foundation for a life that's active, independent, and joyful well into your later years. Now, let's talk about some of the barriers people face when starting an exercise routine and how to overcome them. The first barrier is fear. Fear of getting hurt. Fear of falling. Fear of looking foolish. That fear is understandable, especially if you've had a fall or an injury in the past. But here's the thing. Not exercising is far more dangerous than exercising carefully. The risk of falling increases dramatically when you're weak and unstable. Strengthening your body is the best insurance policy against injury. Start slow, use support, progress gradually, and the fear will diminish as your confidence grows. You can also work with a physical therapist for the first few sessions if you need that extra reassurance. The second barrier is time. People say they don't have time to exercise. But these 5 exercises take 20 minutes 3 times per week. That's 1 hour total per week. 1 hour to preserve your independence, prevent falls, and maintain your quality of life. You have that hour. You're choosing to spend it on other things. And that's fine, but call it what it is. A choice, not a lack of time. If you truly can't find 3 20-minute blocks, then do 10 minutes 6 times per week, or 5 minutes every day. Something is always better than nothing. Even 1 set of each exercise is better than 0 sets. The third barrier is motivation. Exercise is boring. It's repetitive. It's not fun, I get it. But here's a reframe. These exercises aren't optional luxuries for fitness enthusiasts. They're non-negotiable maintenance for independent living. You brush your teeth every day not because it's fun, but because you want to keep your teeth. You do these exercises not because they're entertaining, but because you want to keep your mobility. Shift the frame from optional to essential, and motivation becomes less relevant. You just do it because it's part of taking care of yourself. That said, there are ways to make it more engaging. Listen to music or a podcast while you exercise. Do it with a friend or your spouse. Set small goals and track your progress. Celebrate milestones. The first time you stand up without hands. The first time you hold a single-leg stance for 30 seconds. Those victories matter. Acknowledge them. The fourth barrier is inconsistency. People start strong, miss a few sessions, feel guilty, and quit. Here's the truth. Inconsistency is normal. Life happens. You get sick. You travel. You have a busy week. That's fine. The key is to restart without judgment. Missing 3 sessions doesn't erase the 10 sessions you did before. Just pick up where you left off. Lower the intensity slightly if you need to, but get back on track. Progress isn't linear. It's a series of starts and stops, and as long as the overall trend is upward, you're winning. Let me also address the question of when these exercises aren't appropriate. If you've had a recent surgery, especially joint replacement or spinal surgery, check with your surgeon before starting. Most of the time, these exercises will be part of your rehab, but timing matters. If you have acute pain, swelling, or inflammation in a joint, address that first with rest, ice, and medical guidance. If you have severe osteoporosis, some modifications may be needed, particularly for exercises that involve impact or twisting. If you have cardiovascular issues, start gently and monitor your heart rate and breathing. If you feel dizzy, short of breath, or have chest pain, stop and seek medical advice. And if you're very deconditioned or have multiple chronic conditions, consider working with a physical therapist to design a program tailored to your situation. But for the vast majority of people over 60, these 5 exercises are safe, effective, and transformative. They're based on decades of research and clinical practice. They're used in rehabilitation settings worldwide. They're recommended by surgeons, physical therapists, and geriatricians. They work. The only question is whether you'll do them. Now, let's talk about how these exercises compare to other popular fitness trends for older adults. You've probably heard about chair yoga, water aerobics, tai chi, resistance bands, and balance boards. Are those good? Sure, many of them offer real benefits. But here's what makes these 5 exercises superior for most people. They're simple. No special equipment. No classes to attend. No learning curve. You can do them at home in regular clothes. They're progressive. You can scale them from very easy to quite challenging, which means they'll keep working as you get stronger. They're functional. They mimic the exact movements you need for daily life. And they're efficient. 20 minutes 3 times per week gives you comprehensive lower body strength and balance training. Chair yoga is great for flexibility and relaxation, but it doesn't provide enough resistance to build significant strength. Water aerobics is excellent for people with joint pain because the water supports your body weight, but that same buoyancy means you're not training your bones and muscles to handle your weight on land. Tai Chi is wonderful for balance and mindfulness, but it takes months to learn the forms and doesn't provide progressive overload for strength. Resistance bands are useful, but they're awkward for some of these movements, and the resistance curve isn't ideal for beginners. Balance boards are good for advanced balance training, but they're too unstable for most people starting out, and they carry a higher injury risk. None of this is to say you shouldn't do those activities. If you enjoy them, keep doing them. But if your goal is to build the strength and balance that prevent falls and maintain independence, these 5 exercises are the most direct path. They're the core curriculum. Everything else is elective. Let's also address the role of nutrition, because you can't build muscle and maintain bone density with exercise alone. Your body needs raw materials. Protein is the big one. After 60, your body becomes less efficient at using protein to build muscle, a phenomenon called anabolic resistance. That means you need more protein than you did when you were younger, not less. Aim for about 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight per day, spread across 3 meals. That's roughly 70 to 90 grams for most people. Good sources include lean meats, fish, eggs, dairy, beans, lentils, and protein shakes if you struggle to get enough from food. Calcium and vitamin D are critical for bone health. You need about 1,200 milligrams of calcium per day from food and supplements combined. Dairy, leafy greens, and fortified foods are good sources. Vitamin D helps your body absorb calcium, and most people over 60 are deficient because your skin becomes less efficient at making it from sunlight. Aim for 1,000 to 2,000 international units per day, either from supplements or fortified foods. Get your levels checked with a blood test to know where you stand. Hydration matters too. As you age, your sense of thirst diminishes, so you can be dehydrated without feeling thirsty. Dehydration impairs muscle function and balance. Drink water consistently throughout the day, not just when you're thirsty. A good rule of thumb is to check your urine color. Pale yellow is good. Dark yellow means you need more water. Omega-3 fatty acids, found in fatty fish like salmon and sardines, reduce inflammation and support joint health. Aim for 2 servings of fatty fish per week, or consider a fish oil supplement. And don't neglect fruits and vegetables. The antioxidants and phytonutrients they provide help with recovery and reduce oxidative stress on your muscles and joints. Fill half your plate with colorful produce at every meal. But even with perfect nutrition, if you're not exercising, you'll still lose muscle and bone density. And even with perfect exercise, if you're malnourished, you won't see the gains you're capable of. The two work together. Prioritize both. Now, here's something most people don't think about but makes a huge difference. Sleep. Your body repairs and builds muscle while you sleep. Growth hormone, which is critical for muscle maintenance and recovery, is released primarily during deep sleep. If you're not sleeping well, you're sabotaging your strength gains. Aim for 7 to 8 hours per night. Keep your bedroom cool, dark, and quiet. Avoid screens for an hour before bed. If you have chronic sleep problems, address them with your doctor. Sleep apnea, for example, is common in older adults and devastating for recovery and overall health. Get it treated if you have it. Stress management also plays a role. Chronic stress elevates cortisol, a hormone that breaks down muscle tissue and impairs recovery. Find ways to manage stress that work for you. Meditation, deep breathing, time in nature, hobbies, social connection, whatever helps you feel calm and grounded. This isn't woo-woo, it's physiology. Lower stress equals better recovery equals stronger muscles. Let's talk about pain, because a lot of people over 60 are dealing with chronic pain, and they worry that exercise will make it worse. In most cases, the opposite is true. Chronic joint pain, back pain, knee pain, hip pain is often the result of weak, imbalanced muscles that force your joints to absorb stress they weren't designed to handle. Strengthening the muscles around those joints offloads the stress and reduces pain. I've seen people with years of chronic knee pain find relief within weeks of starting a structured strength program. The key is to work within a tolerable range. Some discomfort during exercise is normal, especially when you're starting. But sharp, severe pain is a red flag. If an exercise causes sharp pain, modify it or skip it and consult a professional. You also need to distinguish between good pain and bad pain. Good pain is muscle soreness, a burning sensation during the exercise or mild joint discomfort that improves with movement. Bad pain is sharp, stabbing, or gets worse as you continue. Good pain is your body adapting. Bad pain is your body warning you. Learn the difference. Another question people ask is whether they should stretch before these exercises. The short answer is light dynamic stretching yes, static stretching no. Before you exercise, do 5 minutes of gentle movement to warm up your muscles and joints. March in place, do arm circles, do hip circles, do ankle rolls. That increases blood flow and prepares your body to move. Static stretching, where you hold a stretch for 30 seconds, is better done after your workout as part of your cool-down. Stretching cold muscles before exercise can actually increase injury risk and temporarily reduce strength. And speaking of injury, let's talk about the most common mistakes that lead to problems. Mistake number 1, progressing too fast. You're excited, you feel good, you double the reps or add too much weight, and you strain something. Progress slowly. Add 1 or 2 reps per week, or increase the difficulty slightly every 2 weeks. Mistake number 2, poor form. Using momentum instead of control. Letting your knees collapse inward, arching your back. These compensations increase injury risk and reduce the effectiveness of the exercise. Focus on quality over quantity. 10 perfect reps are worth more than 20 sloppy reps. Mistake number 3, skipping warm-up or cool down. Both are important for injury prevention and recovery. Don't skip them. Mistake number 4, ignoring pain. If something hurts, address it. Don't push through. Mistake number 5, comparing yourself to others. Your only competition is your past self. Someone else's progress is irrelevant. Stay in your lane. Now, let's look at the long-term picture. What happens if you do these 5 exercises consistently for a year? For 5 years? For the rest of your life? The research is clear. You maintain muscle mass and bone density that your peers are losing. You keep your balance system sharp while theirs degrade. You stay independent longer. You have fewer falls, fewer fractures, fewer hospitalizations. You maintain the ability to do the activities you love, travel, gardening, playing with grandchildren, hiking, dancing, whatever brings you joy. You age, yes, but you age well. You compress the period of frailty and dependence at the end of life into the shortest possible window instead of letting it stretch out over years or decades. There's even evidence that strength training in older adults is associated with better cognitive function and lower rates of dementia. The mechanisms aren't fully understood, but it's likely a combination of improved blood flow to the brain, reduced inflammation, and the cognitive challenge of learning and executing complex movements. Your brain benefits from these exercises just as much as your body does. And here's something that doesn't get talked about enough: the social and psychological benefits. When you're strong and stable, you're more willing to engage with the world. You say yes to invitations. You take trips. You try new things. You don't isolate yourself out of fear. That social engagement is one of the strongest predictors of longevity and quality of life. Weak, fearful, isolated people don't live as long or as well as strong, confident, connected people. These exercises don't just strengthen your legs. They strengthen your life. Let me share one more story. This one's about James. He's 78, a retired mechanic from Arizona. When I first heard about him, he was living in an assisted living facility. Not because he had dementia or a serious medical condition, but because he'd fallen twice at home and his family was afraid to let him live alone. He was depressed. He felt like his life was over. A physical therapist at the facility started working with him, and they began with the basics. Sit to stands from a high chair, calf raises holding onto a walker, single leg stance for just a few seconds with support. James thought it was pointless at first. He told the therapist he was too old, too weak, that it was too late. But the therapist kept showing up and James kept trying. After 2 months, James could do sit to stands from a normal chair with no hands. He could hold a single leg stance for 20 seconds. He could do step-ups on a low platform. His confidence grew. After 4 months, he asked to go home for a weekend visit. He navigated his house with no problems. After 6 months, he moved back home permanently. He still does the exercises 3 times a week. He walks to the corner store. He drives himself to appointments. He has his life back. When the therapist asked him what made the difference, he said it was realizing that his body could still change, that he wasn't fixed in place. That effort still mattered. He's 78, and he's stronger now than he was at 76. Think about that. James isn't special. He's not an athlete. He didn't have some genetic advantage. He just did the work, consistently, patiently, and his body responded the way bodies do when you give them what they need. That's available to you too, right now, today. You can start exactly where James started, with small, manageable movements, and build from there. The only requirement is that you start and that you keep going. So here's my challenge to you. Don't just watch this video and move on. Don't let this be another piece of information that you acknowledge and forget. Decide right now that you're going to try these exercises. Not someday. Not when you feel more motivated. Today. Pick one exercise from the list, the one that feels most approachable, and do 1 set. Right now. Stand up and do 5 sit-to-stands, or do 10 calf raises, or practice single leg stance for as long as you can hold it. Just 1 exercise, 1 set, to prove to yourself that you can. And then tomorrow, do it again. And the day after that, build momentum. Let success breed more success, and if you're worried that you'll forget the details or lose motivation, write it down. Put a note on your fridge. Set a reminder on your phone. Tell a friend or family member what you're doing so they can check in on you. Create accountability. Make it harder to quit than to continue. The beautiful thing about these exercises is that they're self-reinforcing. Once you start seeing results, once you notice that standing up is easier, or that you feel more stable on your feet, you won't need external motivation anymore. The results will motivate you. You'll want to keep going because you'll feel the difference. That's the virtuous cycle of strength training. Effort leads to results. Results lead to confidence. Confidence leads to more effort. And remember, this isn't about becoming a bodybuilder or running marathons. This is about maintaining the capacity to live the life you want to live, to get out of bed without help, to walk to the mailbox without fear, to pick up your grandchild, to travel, to garden, to exist in your body with dignity and autonomy. That's what these 5 exercises give you. Not perfection, not youth, just capability, resilience, independence. You're not trying to turn back the clock. You're trying to make sure the clock doesn't speed up. Aging is inevitable, but how you age is largely up to you. You can age passively, letting your body weaken year by year until you can't do the things you love. Or you can age actively, fighting for every ounce of strength and stability, making your body earn its decline instead of handing it over freely. These 5 exercises are how you do the latter. There's a concept in gerontology called compression of morbidity. It means shrinking the period at the end of life where you're sick and dependent. Instead of a long, slow decline starting in your 60s or 70s, you stay healthy and functional into your 80s or 90s, and then you have a short period of frailty before you die. That's the goal. Maximum health span, not just maximum lifespan. And strength training is one of the most powerful tools we have to achieve that. It's not a guarantee, of course. Genetics, luck, and other factors play a role. But it dramatically shifts the odds in your favor, and even if you've already experienced some decline, even if you're already weaker than you were 5 years ago, it's not too late. Muscle responds to training at any age. The rate of gain might be slower than it was when you were 30, but gains are still possible. I've seen people in their 80s build significant strength. I've seen people in their 90s improve their balance. Your body wants to adapt. It's waiting for you to give it a reason. These 5 exercises are that reason, so let's bring this home. You've learned 5 exercises that are more effective than walking alone for building the strength and balance you need after 60. The sit to stand for leg strength and independence. The calf raise for propulsion and circulation. The step up for unilateral strength and stability. The lateral leg raise for hip stability and fall prevention. And the single leg stance for integrated balance and proprioception. You know how to do each one safely and how to progress them over time. You know how to fit them into a simple weekly routine. You know why they matter and what they can do for you. Now, it's just a question of whether you'll act. And I believe you will because you're still here. You watched this entire video. That means you care. You want to be stronger. You want to stay independent. You want to age well. That desire is enough. Channel it into action. Start small. Start today. Build the habit. Trust the process. And watch what happens. Your body is more capable than you think. Your future is more malleable than you've been told. These 5 exercises are the tools. You're the craftsman. Build something worth living in. I want to leave you with one final thought. There's a saying in physical therapy. Motion is lotion. Movement heals. Movement strengthens. Movement protects. The worst thing you can do for your body as you age is to stop moving, to stop challenging it, to let it atrophy out of fear or laziness or resignation. Every day that you move with intention, every rep you complete, every second you balance on one leg, is a vote for a better future. You're not just exercising. You're investing. And the return on that investment is measured in years of independence, in moments of joy, in the simple freedom to live your life on your terms. So here's my final question for you, and I really want you to answer this in the comments. Which one of these 5 exercises will you try first, and why? Are you going to start with the sit to stand because you've noticed it's getting harder to get up from chairs? Are you going to focus on the single leg stance because you've felt unsteady lately? Are you drawn to the step up because you want to climb stairs with confidence again? Tell me in the comments. Which exercise speaks to you, and what do you hope it will change in your life? I read every comment and I want to hear your story. Let's build a community of people who refuse to age passively. Drop your answer below and let's get started together.